Disney's Moana, the story of the Kakamora. No one knows where the Kakamora came from, only that one day they appeared on the horizon. At first, their great canoes were just mysterious vessels that would appear in the distance, popping up without warning and then vanishing just as quickly into the mist that perpetually hung around them. When voyagers ventured closer, they spotted the Kakamora themselves leaping about and knocking into each other on board their strange curved boats, which were made out of various objects they had found on their travels. Their vessels even grew their own coconut trees, presumably to ensure they always had a healthy stock of the fruit. The creatures were tiny, no taller than chickens, and their bodies were covered completely by coconut shells. The voyagers could only guess at their true forms, but they did not have to guess at the Kakamora's moods. The strange creatures painted faces on their shells and would duck out of sight to swap out expressions as they argued and jostled with one another. The Kakamora could be seen swiping decorative shells from one another, and sometimes several of them would sneak up on one of their sleeping fellows, startling it awake and jolting it out of a hammock. The hapless victim would bounce and roll along the deck as the rest hooted and jeered in delight. It came to be that men looked forward to Kakamora sightings, enjoying watching the playful antics of the devious creatures, until the day the Kakamora attacked. The creatures had cloaked their canoe in such thick mist, it wasn't until the boat was right beside them that the men noticed it. Even then the men did not worry, for they had assumed the Kakamora were unthreatening. But soon the eerie silence from their boat grew unsettling. Usually the Kakamora could be heard drumming or percussing on themselves to communicate. Curiosity turned to alarm, for as the men watched, the Kakamora canoe suddenly split apart, multiplying again and again into many boats. They formed a ring around the voyagers, trapping them. 3-pronged spears rained down on the voyagers, disabling their smaller canoe, while drums from within the Kakamora's boats started to pound loudly, shaking the sky. Swarming over the edge, Kakamora warriors catapulted on board the men's canoe. Despite their small size, the Kakamora were an intimidating sight, armed with vicious spears, their fingernails sharpened to claws. Most terrifying of all, their faces had been painted into gruesome expressions, the mouths twisted or bared in horrifying grimaces. Where their eyes should have been were fathomless dark holes carved into the coconuts. More and more dropped from above, landing with precision and surrounding the voyagers. Any lingering amusement at the Kakamora disappeared as the smaller creatures overwhelmed the men with their infinite forces and herded them into the bow with jabs from their wicked spears. Guarded by the menacing warriors, the voyagers could do nothing as a second wave of Kakamora swept down, ransacking the boat for anything precious and carrying their loot back to their own canoes. When the Kakamora finally left, the voyagers' boat was crippled, their supplies decimated, their treasures taken, and the voyagers deeply shaken by the attack. Barely making it home, they warned others of the dangerous creatures. Yet, no matter how careful future voyagers were, the Kakamora's uncanny ability to sneak up on others resulted in a trail of battered boats and robbed travelers. Group after group returned empty-handed, weary, and stupefied by the fierceness of the tiny Kakamora soldiers. Beware the fog clinging to the horizon, the drumbeats loud as thunder, the boats that split, the painted faces of horror, the eyes that are empty voids. Beware the Kakamora, for they show no mercy.